So it's finally put back together. Well, the majority of it is. We have obviously the box, the lugs, the centre bit in, and the top all welded on. But we don't have the slides or the skids made for it yet, but I'll talk about that later on in the video. I guess first of all, we sent off a couple of these parts to get sandblasted, and I think we sent them off and we didn't get them back for maybe a week. And once we got them back, and when we got a free day to weld it all back together, that's what we done. And before we get into like the itty-gritty business of this video, if you haven't watched the first video of this top or full rebuild series, whatever you want to call it, I recommend going back watching the first video, basically where we just welded and cut out all the box iron for the topper and basically got the skeleton of it made. And if you haven't watched that video, I recommend you going back and watching it before we get into this video. So that centre bit there where the gearbox goes on for the blade, we put that in at first just so that we can get the distance between the box iron here and the box iron here. And once we had that in, we cut it out again because we wanted to get that the two lugs and the top link area bit sandblasted. But that was the first thing we welded in. It's just we welded that in properly, full lines of welds, because there'd be a lot of weight and pressure on that centre bit. And then we moved on to welding these lugs on where the link arms connect to. So we had to go over to our old topper and sort of measure where they were, because there's still little grooves of welds and stuff. And when we cut, because this is still off the old topper, and so is this, and so is that. So we went out to our old sort of topper, the skeleton of it, and got the measurements, so we knew exactly where these went before we did weld them on. And again, it's full lines of welds, front, back, and the sides, because there'll be a lot of pressure on that as well, between it being lifted in the air and being dragged along for when you're topping. So we put full lines of welds on that as well. And it was actually the owl man himself that was welding them on. So while he was welding them on, me and the brother were cutting out sort of caps for the ends of the box iron to sort of fill in the hole. You mightn't be able to see clearly there, but there might be another area where it's better. Don't know if you can see it clearly there either, but it's basically sheet like this. Me and the brother cut them out with an angle grinder, and then sanded them down with a mop disc and all that, cleaned them up so we can have a clean surface for welding, and then we welded them on. And you might be wondering why there's a hole in it, because we want to get this whole thing dipped. So the hole there is for when it does get dipped, that any dip that gets trapped within the box iron itself can drip out of those holes. We drilled holes in every corner, where we put the cover end on it as well. The next thing we done was these. Now we made these from scratch with a bit of iron in the workshop itself. So we just basically got a length of iron flat. I don't know what that is. I think it must be an inch or something, half an inch. And we used an old gas. We have this gas cutting tool, which we use a lot for heating stuff, for bending, like this is bent. But we used the gas cutter to cut the hole in the centres of them, same over there. And then we used it then just to heat the centre of it, and then hit it with a hammer to get the bend on it. Now originally on the old topper there was one of these lugs, but they were in the centre on the back, and you just had a big sort of chain going the whole way back there. But we were in a sort of a yard where they sell toppers and stuff like that, and there was this sort of Fleming top. This is a Connor topper, by the way, or it was originally before we fully rebuilt it. So I think we'll brand this topper probably Irish Farmer. But yes, originally this was a Connor topper, and there was only one lug on it, and the chain was going from the top link area all the way back to the one lug that was back here. But me and the old man was in this yard. They sell toppers and sprayers and all sorts of stuff like that. And the owner of that area was dealing with another customer, so while we were waiting, we were just looking around on the farm. We spotted the topper, a Fleming topper, and they had 2 lugs, one each side. So the old man himself thought that was a better idea, so that's what we done. We made 2 lugs, and we decided to put the 2 lugs on the side rather than the 1 lug at the back. So we made them from scratch, obviously, and we made 2 of them, and they're welded on the side. We made sure that our slides don't go the whole length of the topper. Our slides end sort of short, so there's a bit of an overhang on the back between the end of the slides and the end of the top, the end of the topper. The next thing we tackled was these. These are where the slides bolt on. Now, the old ones were in good shape, just a bit of rust. We didn't bother get them sandblasted. They probably would have turned out okay if we did get them sandblasted, or we could have just cleaned them up ourselves. But we decided that if we're building the whole topper from scratch and all new parts or whatever, that we'll make new parts of them, because we didn't send them off for sandblast. And so it's basically it's a bit of channel. The back is sort of it's channel like that, and there's 4 of them. There's 2 on the front, and then there's sort of 2 on the back. So we drilled those holes on a pillar drill. Where we cut them out first from a length of channel iron that we had in the workshop itself, and we cut 4 of them out, and then we drilled the holes on a pillar drill, and we welded them on then as well. But going back to these lugs here, this is the chain of the old topper. I think we're keeping this because I think the full length of this, obviously you can see that we have to shorten it a bit just so that we can get the length from that to this. But that full length of chain is perfect when it's going that way, because when it's going this way, it's obviously longer, because this is obviously pushed more towards the left as I'm looking at it now, and that's more towards the right, so it's a longer distance going that way than it is coming this way. So I believe when we were measuring it that chain fit perfectly going that way, and then we got our measurements, and we're going getting a smaller chain that will exactly, would be a perfect fit going that way. Anyways, after we got them welded on, the little things for holding the slides, we welded down the sheets. We done it one at a time. We put down the big sheet here first, and it wasn't sitting perfectly. It was warped a bit, so we had to use clamps just to tighten the sides down. We went around then welding it, took the clamps off, and all that, and welded it all up. And then we skipped the 2 smaller ones and then went on to the big sheet on the back. We done the same. It wasn't sitting right. We had to clamp it down and all this, and then we welded that down, and then we started with the smaller ones. Now the weld pattern on this is the exact similar weld pattern to that was on the old one. It's not a full line of welds. It's just a small line of weld, a gap, a small line of weld, a gap, and then a small line of weld. And it's that situation going the whole way around each sheet. And that's basically that. We obviously have to get another chain for it for going that way. A short one that fits perfectly going that way, because obviously that chain fits perfectly going that way. We also need to get the skids sorted. The skids are actually in the workshop, but I'll show you them now in a minute as well. But we need to get them sorted as well. There's problems with bending it and all this. We're going making the skids ourselves. We're going buying in the material, making them ourselves, but we don't have the right equipment for bending them. Now there is a section of it that we can bend ourselves, but there's another bit. It folds basically on the top here. Obviously the bit that goes down here and then folds upwards like that, we can do that ourselves. But there's a bit where it just comes up and then folds outwards like that. That we cannot do because it's just the line of the length of the skid. We're not able to bend that bit out. And I'll show you what I'm actually on about when we go look at the slides or the skids themselves in the workshop now in a minute. So this is the skeleton of the old topper, as I mentioned a couple of minutes ago in the video. Now I don't know if the camera is picking it up, but you can see these sort of grooves there, and the groove down here. That's where the lugs were that the link arms, the lift arms go into. That's where they were. So we used the old skeleton of the topper as a template to get measurements for the lugs and for anything else really as well. And up at the top there is, I don't know, right there, whether the camera's picking it up, but what you were seeing there is just you can see it welded there as well as the flat bit of sheet just covering the square hole in the box iron. And that's what I was trying to show you on the new frame, but we went over it with a mop disc very well, and it kind of just blends in well with it. It doesn't look like there was just a bit of sheet covering it on the new one, but that's what I was trying to show you on the new one. But obviously we did a great job on tidying it up and making it look like it was blending in with it. You can see on this side and down there, that's the front bit because it sticks out a bit, and then the little sort of grooves at the back, that little plate at the back, that's what that is for the lift arm section. But yes, we basically kept the old frame off the old topper just as a template for measurements and all that, and we also built the skeleton for the new topper on top of this. You might have seen that in the last video, and as I said at the start of this video, if you haven't watched the first one, I recommend going back and watching it if you haven't. Also, I nearly forgot the little lug that goes at the back, that the chain goes from the back to the A-frame on the front. We only had one lug on the old one, and the chain went from that all the way over to the A-frame at the front. I don't know, maybe one on each side is better and stronger for lifting up the topper, but the one at the back was perfect. When we were using that topper before, we realised it was getting into a bit of disarray and the rust was eating away at it. But the one lug at the back, it done its job, but obviously the Owlman thought one on each side of the frame of the topper was better or stronger or something. So we'll see how that goes when we get it all done, finished, and get the slides on it, get it dipped and give it a rip down in the field. We'll see how it goes. Also, these are the bits of the old topper that we made new ones from, that the slides or the skids go on. So that's basically at the bottom of the topper, let's say, and then the slides are on that, and obviously you have a load of holes on the slides and you can adjust the height, and that's what that's for. But these are the old ones. We didn't get them sandblasted. Obviously they don't look awfully bad, they're not the best now, but if we went over them with a sand it down and then give it a rub of the mop disc afterwards, I think we did tidy up pretty well. But again, the Owlman made a good solid point there that we're building a whole new topper from scratch, and we're using a lot of new materials, but we're also using a lot of the older materials as well from the old topper, but they were still in good shape. We got them sandblasted up, and they're looking pretty good now. But as the Owlman said, we're making a whole new topper from scratch technically, basically. We might as well just make a new one of these lugs. Well, we had to make 4 of them, but you know what I mean. He wanted to make new ones and just have the topper sort of somewhat looking fully new and fresh, I guess. And as you can see, it's channel and that's what we made the new ones off as well. We just had a bit of channel up on the shelves there, and we obviously this looks bent and out of shape. I don't know what the rest are like, they're down there, but we made new ones anyways. They're looking good and clean, and the topper will last quite a while actually, because if we're going getting it dipped, and then we're going painting the sheets on it then as well. So we'll see how it comes out, and we'll see how long it lasts. And finally, these are the old skids. I did mention I was going to talk a bit about the skids early on in the video, so here we are here. Obviously, they're the holes that you can adjust the skids with the owl channel bits that we were looking at down there. You can obviously adjust the heights of them and the height of the topper and how low or high you want the blades to cut. But there's two bits of sections, or well, technically three bit of sections on this that we need bent. The bottom bit that slides on the ground, we have to bend the front and the back, but also this top section here is bent, as you can see there, and this is the one we cannot do ourselves. We are able to do this bend, and someone actually did comment on the topper video, saying that he made a video of doing a full rebuild of a topper, and I watched it. It was like a YouTube shorts or something. But he done a pretty good job, and what he done was just basically that bit that slides on the ground was just a bit of flat iron. He welded this bit onto it, and then got a bit of gas heat, similar to what we have there, which is what we use to bend the lugs on the side for the chains. And he gave it a wallop with a hammer and bent it around the bit of sheeting here. And that's what we're probably going to do, or we probably could send it off when we're getting the top bit bent and maybe get that bent professionally or something. I don't know. We can do it ourselves. We probably will do it ourselves, because we are finding it hard to find someone to bend this bit as well. We also want something else bent. This isn't our sprayer. It's a neighbouring farmer's sprayer. He done something to this anyways, and we decided to cut off the top and then it down there at the bottom, and then bring it out sort of cornered. And we asked him, but he's very precise. He wants it looking the same as it was. Like this side here, you can see the bend in it right there. So we don't have a machine to bend any box iron or anything like that, and we're trying to find someone that can put that bend in it. But we're finding it very hard to find someone who can actually bend, I think it's 40mm box. But anyways, we were going off track there, but I just wanted to show you what we needed something else bent as well, along with the top bit of the topper here. So yeah, we have to get the skids made up first, get it all bent, made up, and stick them on the topper. And then we're going to get the whole topper dipped, paint the sheets on the top of it, and then it's ready for topping. Now I'll give you a quick sort of run cap before I end the video of what we've done. We got that, the 8th in there, and the 2 lugs sandblasted up. We welded the centre bit in, then we welded the 2 lugs for the link arms in. Then we made these from scratch, a length of iron we had. We cut them, I used a gas tin to bore the holes in it, and we used the same gas then just to heat the centre of it and hit it with a hammer to bend it. That's the same on both sides. We have 2 of them. We also made the little lugs here that the slides go on out of a bit of channel. So we cut them to the exact measurement to what the other ones were, and we bored the holes in them and welded them on. And then last but not least, we welded the sheets on, and that's the body of the topper done. And the only thing left to do is to make the skids, but obviously, as I mentioned a minute ago, the problem we're having in all this. So the topper is going to be in this sort of state for a little while. And we're also getting the whole thing dipped, but we want to get the slides on first and then send the whole thing off to get dipped. But I cannot wait when it's fully done and ready to go for action. I cannot wait to give it a good bash in the field. Trim down grass, trim down the rushes and all this. I cannot wait to use it. But that is going to be the end of today's video. Thank you very much for watching. If you liked it, please do give me a like. Leave a comment of what you think of it so far. Did we do a good job? Because I think we did. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't, and turn on the bell to be notified of every future upload. And I'll see you in my next video very soon. Take care.